So ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure and privilege to be here with you every Saturday, along with my partners, Dana Hunter and Gary Knapp. We love this weekly educational spot in our lives, and we acknowledge each and every one of you for the same thing, because this education is just so critical for our modern world. And I'd like to say, we'd like to say thank you for being here. And also, whether you're watching this live or down the track, it's going to be very important. And the other thing to really make sure is to not keep this education to yourself. It's critical that other people have the awareness that we have so much power in our hands to improve our wellness, no matter what our starting point is. Now, our speaker today is Dr. Steve Nugent. He's Manatech's Global Wellness Director and Chairman of the Global Scientific Advisory Board. He has more than 40 years of experience in the area of integrative medicine. He has tested more than 6,000 dietary supplement products and formulated more than 100. He is internationally recognized as an expert in his field and has been teaching doctors for more than 30 years. He is Manatech's most requested speaker globally. He's earned multiple degrees, graduating with top honors in both undergraduate and graduate levels. As a snapshot, his areas of studies include integrative medicine, health and wellness psychology, leadership psychology, organizational psychology, neuropsychology, biological anthropology, nutritional science, and business administration. Dr. Nugent is served as president of the International Association of Complementary Medicine and is president emeritus of the American Naturopathic Medical Association. He is a professional member of the American College of Nutrition. He was also awarded the Service Heart Award by Manatech Associates in 2007. So he's our favorite. Dr. Nugent, thank you so much for always being here to ensure we have the most accurate wellness education possible.
It's a pleasure, and thank you, Sharon, and to Diana and Gary, for the three of you, for doing this week after week, being so faithful about this, supporting all of the associates in Australasia, because that's obviously it's an extra duty for each of you, and I personally very much appreciate that the three of you are doing this, and so it's always a pleasure. I wish I could do them more often.
Oh, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we spoke briefly at the end of last week's call about talking about, immune support for the flu season. And we're having a bit of chuckle since then in regards to, I told everybody last week that you'd be correcting me on that, Dr. Nugent. And so you'll have some interesting information today and an update of whether we actually do have a flu season. Because I was saying, being in Canada, we didn't think of it that way. So I'll look forward to hearing. And I'm going to go off camera, Dr. Nugent, but I'll be back on should you need me.
All righty. Thank you, Sharon. We were having that conversation about flu season. And you can technically say that you have a flu season, but the reality is the flu virus originates in Western China, in the same region of Western China every year, every year, always comes from the same place. In fact, it's so predictable that the World Health Organization actually has observation stations in Western China so that they can detect the beginning of the virus and begin to work on vaccines, because they need about 6 months to work on vaccines for those people in the world who are using those. It's very predictable, and what happens is it simply takes a certain number of months for the virus to go from its point of origination in Western China to each geographic area on the planet. It moves east, so it would hit Australia at a particular time of the year, so I suppose you could say a season. It would hit New Zealand at a particular time of the year. It hits the Western United States at a particular time of the year, and so on. So this is why a lot of countries don't say flu season, because it isn't actually a season. But that's the way it works, just so you know. So with this in mind, what we're going to talk about today is, for some reason my slides are stuck. Oops, there they go. They went a little bit too fast. All right, what we're going to talk about today are two of Manatech's products. One of these products is Manapol, which you've heard me talk about before as I talk about other parts of Manatech and other Manatech products. As an example, Manapol is the most important ingredient found in ambrotose. By far the most important ingredient. So then, as I've spoken to you about ambertose in the past, obviously I've talked a little bit about Manapol each time because that's important. But today we're going to talk specifically about Manapol, and towards the end of today's call, I'm also going to talk to you about MannaBoom. And MannaBoom is Manapol with a couple of other interesting things added to it. So we'll get to that towards the end of the call. So I want to begin to be accurate for you because many people have a point of confusion when we say the word glyconutrient. Glyconutrient is a commercial term, a term, by the way, which was invented by Manatech back in 1996. And scientifically, all of your plant saccharides that I would be talking about in terms of supporting human health, these plant saccharides would be called glycans scientifically. So if you're talking to a scientist, you would say glycan. And commercially, of course, they're called glyconutrients. And this is why, as you've heard me say many times before, on my slides, I always put both words to make sure everyone knows what I'm talking about, just for clarity and accuracy. As a scientist, I'm kind of a stickler about that sort of thing. All right, quick review. I've said a little bit of this before on certain calls, but it's important to reiterate this, and hopefully we have new people watching this information that did not see previous calls that I've done. So there's a little bit of redundancy here, but then we'll get into sort of the meat of it. So I want everyone to understand the science of glycan, and this is a science that's been going on literally since 1857, and very often you'll talk to somebody in the medical community who will tell you they never heard of this before. You might talk to scientists. Keep in mind, when we say science, that's huge. The number of different disciplines within the scientific community. So not every scientist knows everything about every aspect of science, okay? But you may talk to a scientist and say glyconutrient, they have no idea what you're saying. You say glycan, and they say, oh yeah, I know, I think I know what glycan. Science has been around for a long time. But as of 2010, and I use this as an official figure from a major scientific library, and it's not the only scientific library. I think Americans think it's the only one, but it's not. Trust me on this. There are many internet science libraries on planet Earth. This is just one. PubMed has something like 15 million studies on it. And so there are so many scientific studies now, but they're in excess of 22,884 studies on glycoproteins as of 2010. But now this is exciting. About a month ago, I checked PubMed and I simply used the keyword search glycan. And I got more than 550,000 hits, more than 500,000 hits just on PubMed. But keep in mind the different sites, some of them have crossovers of the studies, but many of them have studies that are unique to those sites. The point here is the science around glycans is growing so fast that no one, and I mean no one, can keep up with it. Even those scientists who study nothing but this day and night, they cannot keep up with it. It's moving too fast. Why is it moving so fast? Because recent changes and recent findings scientifically that go back around the 2010 mark were looking so amazing, so astounding to scientists that it began to generate a lot of government grants for new study. And this has just ignited the whole field. In fact, in 2011, in Japan, some scientists in Japan actually began the Human Glycome Project. Now, all of you, I'm sure, have heard of the Human Genome Project. And of course, the Genome Project is to study all of the genes, to find out what all the genes are in the human body. But more complex, far, far more complex than that, is the Human Glycome Study. And what these scientists, this started in Japan, as I say, and what these scientists were determined to investigate was, what do glycans do? The glycans are on all the cell surfaces of all of our cells throughout our body. We know that they're important for cellular communication. We are learning very much more about what they do. But even if it was just cellular communication and nothing else, it would already be the single most important finding that there is. Because if your cells cannot communicate accurately to each other, then they can't function as they were designed to function. It's really that simple. So in the Human Glycome Project, they are literally analyzing different glycans on different receptor sites, on different cells throughout the human body, trying to determine all of the various functions that they have. For me, this is very exciting, but it's so complex that I think that they could be at this for another 10 years or so before they get all the answers that they hope to find. Well, we know from study going back as far as 1996 that there are 8 different glycans that are needed for cellular communication, and that these 8 glycans, these 8 glyconutrients, they have to combine with a particular protein amino acid. When they do, they then become something called a glycoprotein. Now, the glycoprotein then is what facilitates the communication, both sending communication and receiving communication from one cell to another. Then another study that was done by the National Academy of Sciences in the United States, which, by the way, is the premier scientific body in all of the United States. This was done in 2012, or I should say completed in 2012. And they found, oh boy, did they find some amazing stuff. But to summarize their whole study, I can simply say that glycans are involved in virtually every biological process. Now imagine this, my friends. Imagine that a company comes along and they find out just what glycan would be the single most important of all of those glycans, and that this is involved in all of the biological processes of the entire body. Understand the potential here. Also understand that if for any reason you didn't get a sufficient level of these glycans, could your biological processes function as they were designed to function? Well, the answer is simple. No, they couldn't. In other words, the most important factor for your health, not some of your health, all of your health, is glycans. Very specific glycans, or glyconutrients, as we say commercially. Well, we're not going to show you a really great film of how the cells work and all that stuff, but just to take a look at this slide right now. And this is an artist's conception of how cell surface receptor sites, those are those sort of little squiggly things that are coming up out of the surface of that cell. And you'll see that on the end of those squiggly little things are a series of little branches that look like they have a lot of little beads on them. Well, those little beads are glycoproteins. They are specific glycans bounded to their corresponding protein amino acid, and what they're doing is facilitating communication for all of those things that you see on the slide. So this is crucial. It doesn't matter what aspect of your health is your primary concern. The foundation of whatever you do, it doesn't matter what it is, the foundation of what you do needs to be with these glycans. And the single most important of all of the glycans is one particular one that Mannatech has trademarked as Manapol. Manapol is a Mannatech exclusive. I call it the king of glycans because it's the most important, it's the most powerful, it's the most effective, it is certainly the most unique. Now, we use this particular, our Manapol comes from aloe. But then a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, everybody's got an aloe product, big deal. Everybody knows what aloe is. Well, I'm going to show you the difference. I want you to pay very close attention during this presentation. I'm going to show you the enormous difference between mannose from aloe and Manapol. Yes, Manapol is a mannose from aloe, but it is not like any other product in the world because of the science that actually starts with our agricultural science and then progresses to our laboratory science. So this is important stuff to learn about today. I think, personally, I want every human being on planet Earth to have Manapol in their body. Everybody. No exceptions. I think it's that important. And I have looked, as Sharon said in the beginning of this call, I have tested more than 6,000 supplements in my career. And I have decades of experience with caring for the health of human beings. And I can tell you unequivocally that of all of the immunomodulators that I have seen in my entire career, I have never seen anything as effective as Manapol. I'll explain immunomodulator to you in a few minutes, but right now I want to sort of keep pace with where we're going. So, we have this technology exclusive to us. Even our grower is exclusive to us, and I'll explain that to you in a moment as well. We have more than 50 patents worldwide related to our glycan technology. All of them got their start from Manapol. Now, Manapol is a trade name. Originally, it was patented. It's no longer patented. Patents expire after 20 years. It is still our exclusive, however, because it's made with exclusive technology that only we use. And you will learn in the next few minutes how it is grown in a different way than any other grown anywhere in the world. But first, let's do a few definitions for you. Scientifically, there is one type of mannose from aloe which can be scientifically called ace-mannan. And you should be seeing that on your slide right now. Ace-mannan is a scientific definition. This is from the Chemical Abstract Society, and it says ace-mannan is a mannose that has a molecular weight of between 1 million and 2 million Daltons, or more than 1 million Daltons, probably would be the easiest way to say it. Dalton was a British scientist who first introduced the atomic theory, so atomic weight is named after him, and we simply weigh things in Daltons, is the way it's done. Now, in addition to that, in the United States, you have something called the United States Adopted Names Council, or USAN. They are a division of the American Medical Association. They also define ace-mannan as mannose that has an atomic weight of more than 1 million Daltons. Anything under 1 million Daltons does not qualify as ace-mannan. So all of the studies on ace-mannan thus far are all about mannose that has a higher level than 1 million Daltons. Well, you're about to learn that really limits the number of mannose products out there. In fact, it limits it to 1. So our very first product, our very first glyconutrient product was called Manalo. And of course, the man part was because of Manatech, and aloe obviously is, it's aloe. Okay, so Manapol in a capsule basically with a flow agent, because you can't put a powder into a capsule without a flow agent, and sometimes you need other agents as well when you are encapsulating. You don't need to use those agents when you have a free powder in a tub, but you do in a capsule, which is why there can be very little Manapol per capsule, because you need so much flow agent to make it work. There were only 30 milligrams of Manapol per each of these capsules. Yet this is the product that first got my attention all those years ago, 25 years ago. And it had 1.1 million Daltons, so it was scientifically the first Ace Mannan product at 1.1 million Daltons. Our grower down in Costa Rica, and as some of you saw, and if you didn't see it, I would strongly recommend that you do go to Facebook and watch a series of snippets that I made. I did a whole bunch of snippets, maybe, gosh, I didn't count them. There probably was around 12, I guess. What I wanted to do, I was just in Costa Rica. I was just at our farms, at a production facility, at our quality control and quality analysis facility. So I was at all of those places, just got back to Texas from Costa Rica. And so what I tried to do on Facebook was do the Facebook Live thing, and I had asked the senior agricultural engineer, whose English is a little weak, and I speak no Spanish, so we had a little bit of communication difficulty, but generally he was focused on what we needed, I think. It was so you can go on Facebook Live, and there'll be a series of those. My goal was to literally start from the very beginning, the growing of the aloe plant. What do we do? I literally started the first snippet at the nursery, and I'll explain a little bit to you how that worked from the nursery. And then I took the viewer through, and each of these snippets is short, and then you have to find the next one, go to the next one, and so on, all the way through the processing until you get that final perfectly pure Manapol product actually going into the containers and being labeled and all that. So hopefully some of you will be able to watch those on Facebook Live. I originally posted it to my personal page, and then I think others shared it and posted it to the North American page, the Manatech official page, perhaps my fan page. I'm not even sure, but it's all over the place, the bunch of the snippets. And I apologize if the quality is poor, but it was raining down there pretty significantly. A few times the rain stopped, which allowed me to go out into the fields and do some of the filming. We saw a volcano, active volcano in the background, and so on. It was pretty interesting. I did not film the crocodiles. We had lots and lots of crocodiles who were just having fun in the rain. So it was a pretty interesting experience. So I invite you to go to Facebook Live and take a look at those snippets. Some of them, I apologize, may not be in order, because when we would be in a place where there was no internet connection, we simply recorded it. And I had asked Diego, the agriculture engineer, to upload them in a particular fashion, but I'm not sure if he understood me, so I'm not sure if it actually worked in that order. But anyway, they're there. All right, so back onto our slide presentation here. Our grower has been growing aloe exclusively for more than 20 years. And one of the things that they have been doing is they have been crossbreeding aloe plants for these more than 20 years. And they have created this amazing sort of super aloe. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how that's done with DNA and so on, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to tell you about the allopectin. If you are to look up pectin on the internet, don't do it right now, but if you do it later, you look up pectin and you'll see the studies, and I'm not talking about commercial websites, I'm talking about scientific studies. And the scientific studies will always tell you how pectin helps to detoxify the body, how pectin helps to attract chemicals from the body, which is great for all of us who live on planet Earth right now, and how the heavier the weight of the pectin. The heavier the atomic weight, the more effective it is. Well, the heaviest atomic weight pectin of any product on planet Earth is, guess what? It's in Manapol. So you'll not only have some of the benefits I'll be talking about for your immune system here in the next few minutes, but you also have this astounding detoxification benefit, remembering the heavier that pectin is, the more effective it is for detoxification in your body. Well, what our grower does, they're called Natural Aloe Costa Rica, and they are well named because they do everything naturally. They're quite amazing. There are no fossil fuels being used anywhere in their facility. They need a lot of power to run that place, and there's no fossil fuels being used at all. We're talking about wind power and solar power. That is their source of energy. And they do. And on top of that, you talk about being responsible about the environment. I'm so impressed by these folks. They have 8,000 acres of trees, of jungle, that they deliberately have set aside to balance against anything that might be generated from their facility. So even the trucks, because the trucks are obviously have to use fuel to get them from the aloe fields back to the facility. 8,000 acres, because that's producing oxygen, and that helps to balance against anything else. These people really care about the environment, and they really care about nature and quality. It is so impressive, truly, truly impressive. So they started this special breeding program more than 20 years ago. They use DNA analysis. They actually do DNA tests on the aloe plants. And they have classified aloe plants as P1, P2, P3, and that simply means plant type 1, plant type 2, plant type 3. They only use the P1 plants for planting. Those are the plants that have the highest, most potent mannose by weight in the leaf. These are like super aloe plants. They're superhero aloe plants. I don't know how else to explain them. But this is done through DNA analysis. Now, I started yesterday when I was doing the Facebook Lives actually at the nursery. By the way, they're so concerned about making sure everything is clean and safe. You have to disinfect your boots before you can even walk onto the farm. You have to step into a bath of disinfectant because they don't want anything being brought in from the outside world, even onto the farm. The wheels of the vehicles have to be disinfected before you're even allowed to drive in that area. It's quite amazing, really quite astounding. And so that kind of care, really from start to finish, it's totally amazing. So we have the highest polysaccharide content of any mannose from aloe on planet Earth. Ours is the highest because of the processing that I'm talking about today and because of the growing methods. We have our Manapol is the only mannose from aloe, which is third-party tested and has clinical trials for both safety and efficacy. We're the only one on the planet. I don't care what anyone else says to you. If they claim they have it, then you have to say, show me. I want to see the evidence. So our product, Manapol, is true ace mannan. It is standardized. It is stabilized. It is so incredibly pure. I wish I could have taken all of you with me yesterday to watch every step of this and to really understand the amazing science and quality that goes into this. They use no pesticides at all, and there are no insects anywhere near these plants. They make a special, it's beautiful science that they do this right at their facility. They use 2 types of fungi and 1 type of bacteria, which are harmless to humans, harmless to animals, but they repel different types of insects. One of them is used to repel worms that tend to get into the roots of aloe plants. And the other 2 repel different types of insects. So it's interesting that if you were to walk near these aloe plants, there is no trace of any insect anywhere near the plant. But when you then stand up, you'll find some insects at your head level, but nothing near the plants. No insects or worms are killed. It's totally environmentally friendly. It's completely safe. All it does is repel the insects because they don't even want to harm the insects there, which I think is just amazing stuff. I'm so impressed, just totally impressed with what these folks do. And they make this material themselves right on the spot. Some certain type is meant to be put through the irrigation hoses to be sprayed on the plants. And there are irrigation hoses that are literally touching every plant. The first farm I went to had in excess of 400,000 aloe plants. The second one that I filmed in yesterday had more than 1 million aloe plants. If you can imagine this, like, wow, just an amazing, amazing facility there. So we know that what we call Manapol, or true ace mannan, we know it supports cellular communication. We know that it is linked to improved immune response, which is kind of the purpose of this call, as you're thinking about, quote, flu season, unquote. But I want you to know that it's much more than that. We'll come back to the immune ID in a moment, but it's much more than that, because we know that Manapol can help you to absorb things like vitamin C. Is that important at this time of the year? Yes, indeed. In fact, it's important at every time of the year, but it's definitely important during this time of the year. So it definitely helps you to improve the absorption of vitamin C and vitamin E through your gastrointestinal tract. So another huge advantage of Manapol. As I mentioned already, our grower uses no fossil fuels of any kind in the production facility or for powering any of their machines, other than their trucks, of course. The trucks are running on ordinary fuel. No one has solved that problem yet down there. But considering everything else they're doing, it's pretty astounding. And they will load a single truck, so it's not like there are convoys of trucks. They load one single truck and trailer, usually from the growing, one time or twice during the course of their day. They begin their harvesting of the leaves at 5:30 a.m., so they want to start harvesting before sunrise. Sun exposure can reduce some degree of effectiveness in the plant, not much, but a little bit, and they don't want that to happen. They also don't want their workers to be suffering in the extreme heat in the afternoon. It was so hot for me. I started down there with the filming at 9 a.m. By noon, my sweat was sweating. It was so hot and uncomfortable. It is a jungle after all, down there that they have cleared out. So our Manapol is, without question, the most abundant natural source of acetylated mannans, or ace mannan, in the world. And I'm going to give you a piece of really exciting news that just happened yesterday. I'm very excited. So let me give you the preview to it here first before I give you that piece of news. So true ace mannan has between 1 and 2 million Daltons atomic weight. Mannose from aloe, everybody else's aloe, is somewhere between 380,000 and 400,000 Daltons atomic weight, and therefore is not true ace mannan. Not. And I know we have one new competitor who's decided they're just going to redefine it. Well, they don't care what the scientific societies say. They've decided that their stuff, which is 400,000 Daltons, is ace mannan just because they say so. Well, folks, it doesn't work like that. You can't just change things because it's commercially convenient for you. Science is science. You have to stick with some level of rule with this. All right. So true ace mannan also has a different atomic structure, not just not just the atomic weight, but the atomic formula, the atomic structure are different. Now, you may not remember what you're looking at right now, but I want you to see the news here. As of yesterday, we are now getting consistent yields. You may remember before, even a month ago, I told you on a call that our Manapol was coming in at 1.6 million Daltons, which is more than 4 times more than ordinary mannose from aloe. And as of yesterday, and we tried to film this, you could kind of see it on the video. I think you could see it okay. 2,232,000 Daltons atomic weight, because they keep crossbreeding these aloe plants. They keep getting better and better, stronger plants. They keep improving their processing. And we are now at 2.2 million Daltons atomic weight. And ordinary mannose, less than 400,000 Daltons. Think about it, folks. This is astounding stuff. The quality just keeps getting better and better and better. And now what you're looking at here is the formula, the way you would write out true ace mannan chemically, and the way you would write out ordinary mannose from aloe chemically. Now you can see they're different. So for these other companies who say to you, oh, they're all the same, it's all the same, it's not the same. Science shows you it's not the same. Structure equals function, folks. All scientists know this. And how did this come about? Well, we had, after we had started business in Spain, apparently pharmacists in Spain are allowed to prescribe and sell dietary supplements. And apparently they sell D-mannose in pharmacies in Spain. Well, the pharmacists, not being experts in nutrition, they are trained in pharmaceuticals, that's why they're pharmacists. They thought that all mannose from aloe was the same. So they were telling people, oh, our D-mannose, that is just dirt cheap, is the same as your Manapol product. And our Spanish associates, of course, were getting pretty upset about that. And they immediately contacted me. Oh my God, what do we do? What do we say? Is this true? So I wrote a very complicated, detailed document for the pharmacists, giving them the science, showing them the difference between true ace mannan, Manapol, and from aloe. The difference is huge. Once they understood it, they stopped saying it was the same thing, because they understood it clearly was not the same thing. Now, a lot of people will say, well, it costs so much money, it's so expensive. Yeah, it is. It is expensive, folks. And part of what I was trying to show yesterday on those Facebook Live posts was to show you the processes, and if you could begin to imagine the expenses involved in doing this. In fact, it takes 660 kilos of aloe leaf to make 1 kilo of Manapol. Think about that. Originally, just to show how we're improving, it used to take 1,100 kgs. So we're getting better and better between the farming and the manufacturing process. When I was out in the fields yesterday, they were harvesting 35,000 pounds, and they're measuring in pounds when they do the leaves, and after they have made the finished product, they measure it in kgs, grams, and milligrams, obviously, for the finished product. So that's the way it's written on your slide. So they collected 35,000 pounds, and they only cut the adult leaves on the outside of the plant. So the leaf has reached a certain length, which would indicate its age. And they only harvest the adult leaves on the very outside. So the plant continues to grow literally forever. And then the newer leaves are growing in the center, and it continues to grow outwards, if you will. So that they're not harvesting the whole plant, just the outer leaves. And so yesterday, while we were out there, 35,000 pounds of these leaves were harvested. This is by hand. This is cutting by hand. No machines here. And that produced 27 kgs, or around 60 pounds of Manapol. So you can get an idea of just one of the many reasons why the product is so expensive. And that's a really big part of that. So our technology, our exclusive Manapol technology, is what really began. It was what really changed the whole market for aloe products worldwide, because there had never been anything like this before. And I've already talked about the definitions that we've gone through, so I won't do those again. And more than 50 international patents, as I mentioned, and we'll have more, by the way. More patents are pending, so there will be more that all relate to our glycan technology. Our competitors have 0 patents, and they have 0 science to show what their products do. But we've spent a ton of money at Manatech, and not only on our state-of-the-art analytical research lab, but also on scientific studies and other things that we've done. So I want you to be focused on 3 words. When you think about Manatech, think about glycan technology or glyconutrient technology for sure. We are the glycan company, the glyconutrient company. We definitely are. We are it. But I want you to think about these 3 important words when you think about, so that when the word Manatech, it's like a word association test when you go to see your psychologist, okay? Somebody says Manatech and you think science, safety, efficacy. Those 3 words are what I want you to think about in association with Manatech all the time, because that's who we are. That's what we do. And we are always safe and effective, always. And we keep proving that out. You know, we now have 19 studies. When I spoke with you last, we had 17 studies. We have 19 studies. And of those 19 studies, 2 are laboratory studies, 17 are human studies. And what do our competitors have? Well, let me think. They have, I guess, 19 fewer than we do. So I think that says a lot. Of course, I'm biased. I'm a scientist, so I'm very keyed into studies. And we are the only company on this planet that can say that we initiated a new field of science, a brand new field of science, the study of nutritional glycobiology. That was pioneered by Manatech scientists and Manatech science. And nutritional glycobiology is now being taught in many colleges in the U.S. We are looking forward to the time when it will be taught in colleges all over the planet, but it's a good start. It's a good start. So with that in mind, I'm going to stop the slide presentation. I'm going to keep talking because I've got other things to say to you, but I have no more slides. So I'm going to make you the host again. I hope I did that, Sharon. I hope I made you the host. I'm not sure if I did or not.
Excellent, Steve.
Okay, but I have more to talk about, because we've got to talk about MannaBoom.
Excellent. I'll just go off camera still, but I'm right here.
All right. So MannaBoom, as I spoke with Sharon a few days ago, and I told her that I thought it was maybe logical for us to talk about Manapol before we talked about MannaBoom, because Manapol essentially is MannaBoom is essentially Manapol with a couple of excellent things added to it. So MannaBoom starts with Manapol, your most important thing. And what does Manapol do for your immune system? Manapol activates dendritic immune cells. To understand, ACE-Mannan activates dendritic immune cells. Other mannose does not. Be clear on this. So if you want to activate your dendritic immune cells, you need to have ACE-Mannan. I think I've made it pretty clear who's got that right now. So what does it mean to activate a dendritic immune cell? What the heck is that anyway? All right, lots of people have talked about, and I know Manatech in the past has done a lot of talk about macrophage cells and T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, natural killer cells, and all that sounds pretty exciting. But what makes those cells work? Dendritic immune cells is what makes them work. You see, a dendritic immune cell has to actually tell a natural killer cell what and when to kill. It has to tell a lymphocyte how to work and what to go after. It has to tell a macrophage what to eat. So if you don't activate your dendritic immune cells, don't expect your immune system to function at full capacity for whatever your challenge is, regardless of the season. So that's why Manapol is such an important component of MannaBoom. Now, what else have we done with MannaBoom? Well, we know that particularly with various types of viruses, you want to have a lot more vitamin C. So we have added vitamin C from the Australian bush plum as well as acerola cherry. So you've got this extra vitamin C because we know that vitamin C increases the production of immune cells. So now you've got two key components here. You have Manapol that can activate those dendritic immune cells to direct your immune cells, like your lymphocytes and your macrophage and so on. Tell them what to do, how to do it, and who to do it against. And then you've got the extra vitamin C to raise production of immune cells. What an amazing combination you've got here if you're in that season. So with this in mind, these are two great things to put together. Now, in addition, we've added wakame, also known as undaria. Undaria is the botanical name. Wakame is the common name. It's a type of seaweed, which is harvested in the Tasman Sea, by the way. And there is one scientific facility in the world that refines or processes the wakame from its raw seaweed form into a concentrated functional form. You can do this process a maximum of 3 times. And each time you do it, you are concentrating higher levels of what are known as fucoidins and less of the other material which is not functional for immune support. By the time you've done it 3 times, you now have the most concentrated form of these fucoidins in any product anywhere. Only one company on planet Earth, just one, pays to do this 3 times, and that's Manatech. And we put that in our MannaBoom. This is the right time of the year for you to be stocking up on MannaBoom if you live in Australasia, that's for sure. And you have these important things that it does. Now, in addition to that, some folks will say, well, what is this gum acacia? What is that? Plant gums are a great source of glyconutrients or glycans. And we've added the gum acacia so that we can give you galactose and arabinose and glucuronic acid and rhamnose. These are all very important glycans to support immune function. Very important. So you have almost kind of like a mini ambertose going on here. Now those aren't all the glycans that are in ambertose. But between the Manapol, the vitamin C from 2 different sources, the acerola cherry and the Australian bush plum, which, yes, the Australian bush plum does have the highest level of vitamin C by gram weight, source of vitamin C. So we do this plus the wakame, and this is flavored or sweetened, if you will, by using some citric acid. We always use citric acid for flavoring because that'll give you some of your fruit flavoring. Gives it sort of a tart taste if you haven't tasted it yet. And then the sweetening part of it, we are using erythritol, maltodextrin in a very, very small level, just enough for the sweetness. And of course, my favorite sweetener, which is xylitol. That's xylose. That is, by the way, one of the glycans found in ambertose. I love xylose. It's the only sweetener I use in my life anywhere is xylitol. And xylitol has so many benefits. I could do a whole thing on xylitol. Anyway, so you have a pretty pleasant flavor with MannaBoom, and you get a boom. I mean, you get a really powerful immune support with this product. But it gives you that because of Manapol, which is why we had to spend so much time on Manapol this morning. So this is important stuff for you, this combination. Now, I would personally love to see everyone taking a scoop of Manapol every day for their health. I know it's not practical for everyone. I'm just saying that's what I'd love to see you do. But MannaBoom, wow, you can do that. It's convenient, it's tasty, it's powerful, it's effective. It's a way for you to get Manapol into your system. And it's especially at certain times of the year, that can be a huge benefit for you. Most of us at Manatech Corporate, we travel with MannaBoom as well, because you never know when you're going to need a little bit. Yesterday, a part of our visiting team to the farms was Joel Bickman, and there had been some folks around us who were less than healthy. And Joel said, I'm feeling a little tickle in my throat. Maybe I should slug down a couple of MannaBooms, which he did. He's feeling good today. But anyway, just some thoughts for you on this. But MannaBoom, it's a great product to help you with your immune support, especially at certain times of the year. And by the way, the calcium in there is used as an agent to help separate, to maintain consistency of the powder, I guess would be the best way to say it for you. Okay, so it's not, that calcium is not meant to be a calcium supplement, not at that level anyway. And I haven't seen your label anytime recently, so I'm not sure exactly how your label reads, but so that's the way we have it. And Sharon, I'll go back to you if you want to do anything towards the end of the call here. I think I'm done on my end.
No, that's fantastic, Steve. I think you've covered it. The only questions we've had in the chat are how to take it. Probably the next question is, where do I get it? So Dr. Nugent, thank you so very much. It's such a powerful technology that we all have at our hands. And I think seeing that, the visuals of just how many aloe leaves it takes and the production behind it really helps us understand what we've got in that little bottle that is a bit of an investment financially, but it's really powerful. So thank you, Dr. Nugent. Have a fabulous, hopefully restful rest of your Friday evening.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, Friday evening for me.
Yeah.
It's been a busy week with all the crocodiles and the humidity and the rain and all that. Yeah, busy week.
Oh yeah, you missed a little bit of a chuckle in the chat because you thought there's no photos of the crocodiles because you're probably running away from them.
Yeah. Well, it was very interesting just for everyone listening right now. As I was driving with, there are 3 owners of the farm down there. I'm driving with the senior owner. And he said, we have a lot of crocodiles, but you probably won't see any today because it's raining so hard. And then all of a sudden, I mean, almost at that split second, there was a crocodile who was probably about 4 meters in length that sprang up out of the field and across the road right in front of our vehicle.
My
He said,
God.
oh, well, there's a crocodile. And then I looked down to my right, and there were dozens of crocodiles on the right side of the vehicle. It was quite amazing.
And how do the workers deal with working around crocodiles all the time?
Well, it's pretty interesting. As long as there's a lot of workers in the field making noise, the crocodiles tend to go off. They tend to move away from the field. And it's only, and what happened was there were no workers because of the rain. They had all moved out. And so the crocodiles moved in, and because birds want to come down to the field. And of course, they like to eat the birds, and the crocodiles do. So the farms are right next to a major river, and the river is absolutely teeming with crocodiles. They're everywhere. So it's kind of an interesting nature experience, I'll tell you.
You can imagine that'd be a good incentive to keep singing while you work.
Yeah. Well, as I say, as long as the workers are out there together, they actually have adjacent to the aloe fields, they have rice fields. Okay. Because they use rice as the medium to make their their pesticide replacement, their natural pesticide. They use rice as the medium for that. They inject the rice with their fungi or with the bacteria, which then grows into the rice, and that actually becomes a brand new natural material. So they're growing their own rice in one set of fields, and that's where the crocodiles want to eat the birds. Because there are no crocodiles in the aloe fields at all, none,
Oh,
absolutely
okay.
none. But the rice fields still have to be cultivated as well, and they're done by hand, by the workers or hand picking them. But birds, of course, want to go down into the rice fields, and because they like to eat the little bits of rice, and then the crocodiles want to eat the birds, and so there you are, the food
Wow.
chain.
We owe so much to our farmers, don't we?
Oh, and these farmers, I wish that I could get everybody on this call to go with me down there and just see what they do. I mean, everyone would be so impressed with their farming methods and their care and their quality control. Just outstanding. And every single worker, they have hundreds of workers, they all take Manapol every day. All of them. And they love it, and they're all so proud. You talk to them, and they smile ear to ear that they feel how important they are to be part of making Manapol for the world. It's just a great experience. It makes you feel great all over.
Mm. Amazing, Dr. Nugent. Thank you so much for bringing this, sort of high touch perspective on Manapol and MannaBoom into Australia. You see, Casey, I put a hot water bottle down my top. I'm freezing. I'm sitting here cuddling a hot water bottle. It's very cold in Australia in the inside sometimes. So, ladies and gentlemen, have a great Saturday. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And Dr.